Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Wickham Swan Theatre and Bucks New University Graduations 2011. Please can I remind you to switch off all mobile phones and to remain seated whilst taking photographs. Ladies and gentlemen, please be upstanding for Bucks New University Graduations 2011. Thank you.
I have pleasure in declaring this degree congregation and award ceremony open. Please be seated. High Sheriff, my Lord Parmore, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Roy Darby and I chair the Governing Council of the University. On behalf of the Council, it is my privilege and great pleasure to welcome you all to this most happy occasion. My first welcome is naturally to all of you here today who are about to receive degrees and awards. Very well done and many congratulations on your achievements. Welcome also to all your family and friends who have come along to share in your success. I hope that you have a truly wonderful day of celebration. May I also give a warm welcome to all the faculty staff who are here today and who have contributed so much to all the successes that we are celebrating. Our honoured guests include some of my fellow governors, senior members of our community from educational, civic and business backgrounds, and other supporters and friends of the faculty. To you all, a most warm welcome. On my immediate right is Tom Robinson, our principal guest and keynote speaker. Tom, welcome and thank you so much for joining us. We greatly look forward to your address. On my far right is Professor Ruth Farwell, Vice-Chancellor of the University, who will shortly also welcome you and will make the awards. On my left is Professor Chris Kemp, Pro-Vice-Chancellor and Executive Dean of the Faculty of Design, Media and Management. Professor Kemp will make the closing address at the end of the ceremony. Vice-Chancellor, will you now please confer the degrees of Buckinghamshire New University and receive candidates for other awards.
To the High Sheriff of Buckinghamshire, to my Lord Parmore, to the Chairman of Wickham District Council and other distinguished guests, including the Buckinghamshire's Crown Court judges, to our partners, members of council, the university and the local community, to parents, family members and friends, and most especially to our graduating students. Welcome to the Bucks Awards Ceremonies 2011. This ceremony focuses on the awards being made to the successful students completing courses in music, events and festival management, sports management and coaching, and law. Ceremonies are about celebration, a celebration of the achievements of our graduates and of their teachers, families and friends who've supported them through their studies. What we're about to engage in is a tradition going back many centuries. Because of that, there's a certain formality to the proceedings. We wear gowns, we have a procession and speeches. But it's not just about doing those things because that's what's always happened. It's also about marking the day as special and significant. After all, there aren't that many opportunities when you, the graduating students, can bask in the limelight and congratulate yourselves on what you've achieved. Graduating students, it's your day, make the most of it. The best degree ceremonies are a careful blend. On the one hand, they've an element of formality, as I've said. On the other, it's about having a good time and celebrating. So throughout the ceremony, don't hold back in demonstrating your appreciation of the graduating students' successes. Let's make sure that they graduate in style. We want it to be a day that everyone remembers. Why don't we start off with families and friends and the other guests giving the graduating students a round of applause to indicate how well we think that they've done to get through all the hard work over the last few years to complete their studies, often in quite difficult circumstances, and to be here today to receive their awards. Will you join me? I hope what we've just done and how we approach this ceremony symbolises for you your time at Bucks. Yes, there's been a formal side to your studies and the way we do things, but also I hope that you enjoyed your time with us and that you found it to be a friendly place. True friends don't always get things right, even though they might try really hard, but they have sticking power and they'll help you to the last. I'd like you to think of Bucks like that. You will always be Bucks graduates. That means that we can help you and be a resource for you in the future. You can use our careers and employment service for up to 2 years after graduation. And you're always welcome to get in touch to help progress your career goals. That brings me to a rather difficult subject, future employment. This theatre is bursting with a sense of success and achievement today. Despite that, I expect there's a bit of nervousness in the air, nervousness at the prospect of what lies ahead in terms of careers. Earlier in the summer, there were headlines in the media indicating that the number applying for each graduate job has nearly doubled in the last 2 years of the recession. Those reports were based on a survey by the Association of Graduate Recruiters, one they do twice a year on graduate employment prospects. What the headlines tended not to focus on was the cautious optimism that the report generated, which was because the number of vacancies for graduates rose by 3% during the year. This can only be a good sign that the graduate recruitment market appears to be overcoming the impact of the recession. You should also be aware that this survey is based on responses from the largest graduate recruiters. These big recruiters aren't the full story. The vast majority of graduates don't get jobs with these companies and never have. Just because some employers don't have a graduate recruitment intake, it doesn't mean to say that they aren't looking for graduates. Most graduates work for smaller organisations in the private, public and not-for-profit sector. And some graduates, particularly from universities like Bucks, are entrepreneurial and work for themselves. There are reasons to be cheerful. Your degree has provided you with the kind of flexibility and open-mindedness about what comes next, and the skills to deal effectively with whatever that might be. You'll need to be proactive to find the openings. You'll need to have the persistence, the self-belief and the creativity to think laterally, being prepared to start doing not exactly quite what you'd hoped. The skills that you've acquired from your degree and also the various other activities that you've engaged with while you've been a student will increase your employability. You need to be able to effectively promote these skills when you're putting together your application for a job or for funding to start your own business or support your own practice, and when you're being interviewed. I do encourage you to get professional advice about how best to do this. At this stage, I'd urge you to hold your nerve. Your investment in your degree is an investment in your life and your future career. Compared with what lies before you, the period of economic problems is a relatively minor blip. You'll get to where you really wanted to be before too long, but do remember that you also need to invest in putting your talents across as best you can. Whatever you go on to do, I hope that you think your time at Bucks was extremely important in shaping your life positively, and that you will feel proud of being a Bucks graduate. We're certainly proud of you, and all of us at Bucks wish you every success and happiness in your life and career. The best of luck to you all. We will now start the presentation of the awards.
Vice-Chancellor, we present to you the persons here today and those graduating in absentia to be admitted to the degrees of Master of Arts, Bachelor of Arts, Bachelor of Science and Foundation Degree Arts.
By virtue of my authority as Vice-Chancellor and on behalf of Senate, I admit them to their degrees.
We also present to you those receiving the award of Diploma of Higher Education. Bachelor of Arts in Events and Festival Management, Rosalie Leah Abbott. Kerry Baxter. Rachel Braham. Emily Louise Bull. Stacey Clements. Estella Coombs. Sarah Louise Dunham. Emily Teresa Eaton. Katie Gilbert. Janine Hippolyte. Sophie Jackson. Chantel Little. Rachel McNamara. Laura Elizabeth Redmond. Jack Silberman. Michelle Tooth. Charles Brian Clark. Bachelor of Arts in Music and Live Events Management, Harry Arnold. Melissa Atkinson. Natalie Barton. Danny Martin Blythe. Annie Brown. David Burton. Matthew Carroll. Hannah Claire Carter. Matthew Danson. Louise Ann Delahunty. Stuart Denny. David Roman Deschiavenci. Awarded the prize for the most distinguished performance on an undergraduate programme, Caroline Fottinger. Rosie Ellen Hall. Chloe Laura Holder. John Hunter. Claire Kelly. Alexander Leher. Hannah Rebecca Lewis. Lucy Mangan. Laura Jacqueline McCann. Loveth Alaran Wadju. Molly O'Mahony. Christopher James Peabody. Kimberly Jane Price. Julia Ravitch. Mark Edward Reeve. Kaylee Louise Santos. Joshua Charles Matthew Saunders. Benjamin Smythe. Isabel Ann Thompson. Francesca Vaney. Tiffany Wall. Naum Waters. Gemma Leanne Watts. William Samuel David Woolley. Amanda Claire Zabinden. Bachelor of Arts in Music Management, Janine Mary Arno. Rebecca Ann Hilditch. Holly April Jones. Sebastian Loscott. Shirley Nathi. Joshua David Pearce. Caroline Ann Rout. Maciej Sadvorny. Bachelor of Arts in Music Management and Artist Development, Stefan Daniel Horner. Donna Elizabeth Priest. Diana Schubert. Nina Paulina Tarvainen. Marta Julia Missima. Bachelor of Arts in Music Management and Studio Production, Sam David Adams. Kejel James Carruthers. Gemma Renata Cork. Natalie De Silva. Christopher George. Lukasz Grabowski. Jordan Hoyt. Joe Hunt. Daniel Mathurin. Ricky Lee Mays. Ben McElligott. Awarded the prize for the most distinguished performance in the dissertation, Alexander Poole. Ashley Alexander Reynolds. Freddie Simon. Stuart Wood. Rachel Wolfenden. Bachelor of Arts in Music Management, Branding and Promotion, Billy Anscombe. Mika Louise Atkinson. Jude Hilaire Cox Augustine. Laura Jane Griggs. Cal Dawson Guile. Ian Harverson. Jens Christian Norgard. Nicola Nuttall. Rogero Rodriguez. Casey Stroud. John Paul Traynor. Portia Clark.
Bachelor of Arts in International Football Business Management. Mark Akwazi Amadou Aglokwa. Deeran Arthur. Marco Carvalho. Miguel Antonio de Souza. Oliver Tristan Dunford. Jonathan Lawrence Edward Hampson. Nathaniel Prescott. Stephen Sykes. Bachelor of Science in Motorsport, Sam Bloxham. Matthew Charles Dawkins. Connor Flynn. Bachelor of Arts in Sports Management and Coaching Studies, James Chiro Dirico. Amy Gordon. Awarded the prize for the most distinguished performance in the dissertation, Tom Gravatt. Damon Paul Hull. Vincent James. Jordan James McGeever. Marcus Ned. Dale Parsons. Sean Michael Kelly. Bachelor of Arts in Sports Management and Football Studies, David Armstrong. Michael Chard. Jack Edmeades. Jonathan Eldridge. Vincent Gilbert. Daniel Godfrey. Lorian J. Gordon. Robert Mark Hewitt. Awarded the prize for Most Distinguished Performance on an Undergraduate Programme, Jermaine Lee Jarvis. Matthew Raymond Johnson. Sam David Alfred Locke. Aaron Dwayne Luke O'Brien. George Rhodes. Wayne Richardson. Luke Smith. Tom Smith. Ryan Stewart Street. Richard Sermon. Stephen Peter Young. Landry Junior Odinga. Desmond O.C. Smith. Luke Tier. Marcus Garvey Boakir Akumang. Foundation Degree Arts in Sports Management and Football Studies. Darren Richard Bryant Giles. Bachelor of Arts in Sports Management and Golf Studies, Henry Drake. Andrew David Glendinning. Gonzalo Goy. Christopher Marsh. Jack James Wheatley. Bachelor of Arts in Sports Management and Rugby Studies, Christopher James Barlow. Richard Chapman. Samuel Ivor Rolfe Churchyard. Ashley Coles. Luke Isaac Davey. Charlotte K. Eggleton. Gareth Hugh Enyon. Richard James Freeman. Thomas Hall. Simon Leslie Hawken. Ian Isham. Sebastian John Coevius. Timothy Peter Lawson. Leslie Margaret McGarity. Daniel Paul Newbury. James Newbigin. Peter John Reynolds. Daniel James Sumnall. James Edward Harrison Ewell. Bachelor of Science in Sports Science and Coaching Studies. Marcus Daniel Brooker. Pavel Panek. Jack Shepherd. Benjamin Charles Mitchell. David Dean Dunwoody Wickens. Bachelor of Science in Sport and Coaching Science, Becky Little.
Bachelor of Laws in Business Law, Paulina Igras. Sarah Dawn Vo. Bachelor of Laws, Yemi Adeola Ademiluyi. Kieran Ali. Michael Allen. Sabia Amreen. Shabana Sophine Aslam. Sugra Bibi. Ans Bukhari. Sherelle Cook. Sanat Fakadu. Salma Farouk. Awarded the prize for the most distinguished performance in an undergraduate programme, Philip Holland. Daniel John Holloway. Oluwatumiwa Jayola. Joanna Lusungu Jir. Linda Museka. Lanval Jerome Ogaro. Leila Oladimeji. Matthew Whipp. Peter Woodward. Hina Parveen. Vice-Chancellor, we are now pleased to present to you students from this morning's graduation ceremony who have been able to join us this afternoon. Master of Science in International Business, Kawaljit Kaur. Visheth Visheth. Master of Science in International Logistics and Supply Chain Management, Mohammed Asad Iqbal. Master of Business Administration, Adil Khan. Mohammed Khalid Bashir Qureshi. Mohammed Mateen Raja. Bachelor of Science in Accounting and Finance, Mahfajur Rahman. Bachelor of Arts in Business and Human Resource Management, Farid Khalid. Bachelor of Arts in Business Management, Jeet Kumari Dura. Yamuna Gurung. The Dean will now present the special awards.
This year, I am proud to be able to present a number of special awards. These go to members of the university community, whether students or staff, who have made an exceptional contribution to the student experience. The first of these awards is presented by our business partner Hewlett-Packard in a range of categories which celebrate the efforts of our students. This will then be followed by awards for some of our most inspiring academic staff currently sitting on stage and nominated by the students here today. We will then conclude the awards section of today's proceedings with the honorary awards. I would now like to invite the Deputy Vice-Chancellor to present the first of these awards on behalf of Hewlett-Packard.
Buckinghamshire University works in partnership with Hewlett-Packard to provide equipment and services for students and staff at the university. HP is one of the world's largest IT companies with an annual income in 2010 of more than $120 billion. The partnership extends well beyond the provision of IT capabilities for the university and, as an example of this, HP is sponsoring a range of Student Excellence Awards as part of this year's graduation ceremonies. Each of the 6 students who have won these awards will receive a top-end performance laptop from HP.
The prize for Most Enterprising Student is awarded to Matthew Raymond Johnston. The prize for Most Inspiring Student is awarded to Marcus Ned. It is my privilege to be able to make awards to academic members of staff whose students feel have inspired them during their time here at Bucks New University. These awards are based solely on the testimonials provided by the graduating students sitting here today. I would like to thank all students who submitted nominations. Although there are many who are worthy of this award, the following colleagues will receive a Most Inspiring Tutor Award today. Could the award winners please come forward to centre stage to receive your awards from the Vice-Chancellor. Doug Cole. Simon Poole. And Jarno Stegeman. It is now my pleasure to present the Honorary Award. Tom Robinson. Some people would call Tom Robinson greedy. To become accepted as a musical icon would, for many, seem more than one life's work. But to then be honoured for reaching the peak of a second profession as a radio broadcaster would seem to be the mark of a person who just doesn't know when to stop. As a musician, Tom Robinson has written with Peter Gabriel and Elton John and has had hit records with his own songs on both sides of the Atlantic and across Europe. He was one of the major figures to emerge from the new wave of the 1970s and one of the few to go on consistently writing great music. In that era, he toured extensively, including playing at Madison Square Garden in New York, and his 2468 Motorway remains a familiar anthem. Tom's music was never just fleeting pop songs, but compositions whose impact far exceeded the usual stuff of chart successes, tackling sexual politics in Glad to Be Gay, the environment, and in his masterful song War Baby, the political divide in Europe. His music, then and now, reflects a person of principle and passion. At the height of his musical success, he became perhaps the foremost voice in the struggle for gay and bisexual people to be heard and respected. Indeed, it was his articulacy that saw his move from interviewee to interviewer, as his skill behind the microphone quickly became recognized. There are few, if any, broadcasters who can claim to have presented programs on BBC Radio's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Live and 6 Music on a regular basis. These have included The Locker Room, a long-running series about men and masculinity, Something Understood, and Pick of the Week. He was the natural choice for the BBC when called upon to host the Home Truths tribute programme to John Peel. In this second career, Tom was recognised as being at the very top of his game when winning a Sony Award as a documentary maker. Throughout his careers, Tom has been a leading voice campaigning for the freedom of the individual. His own life has included dark periods of depression, but he has responded with a life which has been rich with achievement and generosity to others. It could be said that Tom has something of a third career. Tom now expends equal energy in the support of new artists and encouraging a new generation of musicians. It is the central theme of his current BBC 6 Music programme and also reflected in concerts he promotes, both in the UK and Europe. Tom has joined us at the university on a number of occasions as an inspirational speaker. Vice-Chancellor, I present you Tom Robinson, who is to receive the award of Honorary Doctor of the University in recognition of his continued strong associations with the university and outstanding credentials as a broadcaster and musician.
On behalf of the Senate and the Council of Buckinghamshire New University, I'm delighted to confer the award of Honorary Doctor of the University on Tom Robinson.
This concludes the presentation of awards. It is now my pleasure to invite Tom Robinson to come to the lectern to give his keynote address.
I think it was the comedian George Burns who said there are two things about getting older. One is you lose your memory, and I don't recall the other thing. For which reason I've written down a much more condensed version of the last 61 years than the one you've just heard, just to fill in some of those gaps. So this is my own life in 100 words, flat. Musical family, Quaker education, unhappy teens, nervous breakdown age 16. 6 years in a therapeutic community. Journey in 20s from dole office to top 10 hit in 12 months flat. Achieve mild notoriety as a gay rights campaigner. Nervous breakdown at 30, followed by bankruptcy, psychotherapy, slow recovery, second top 10 hit, age 33, meeting future wife, first work for BBC Radio, fatherhood at 40. I'm now 61, I work mainly as a broadcaster and occasionally renew my own inspiration by trying to help others get in touch with theirs. And I guess that's how I come to be here. You'll have spotted that in that list there's absolutely no trace of tertiary education. And I am extraordinarily grateful to receive an unearned and totally undeserved distinction that all the rest of you have to work bloody hard to get. Thank you. I am particularly grateful to receive it from this university, because more than most, it was set up to actually meet a need that wasn't being met. It's not to meet the needs of an elite or a privileged few, but this university has been set up to empower ordinary people who have a dream to take charge of their lives and empower them to do so. People come here because they want to be here, not seeking status for its own sake. People come here to acquire skills and disciplines. Basically, as I understand it, you come here in the belief that where you start out from doesn't have to be where you end up. So, I take my hat off to you. I never managed to achieve anything that you have achieved. The acquisition of skills, disciplines, knowledge, by process of application, patience, and hard, bloody work. Well done, all of you. Now, this is a strange position you find yourselves in now, because you're both at the end and at the beginning. And one more crib sheet here, T.S. Eliot said, what we call the beginning is often the end. And to make an end is to make a beginning. The end is where we start from. And the end of education is actually where things really do start out. I mean, I don't know firsthand the first thing about degrees, but my mother and I were the only members of our family who didn't end up as graduates in those far-off days of free education. For my dad and my brothers, a degree was only the start of where they were going in their lives. You could not have predicted where any of them would have ended up. My dad, his parents were a farmer's daughter and the son of a Lincolnshire factory clerk, and his ambition rose no higher than being a vicar. So he went to university and read English, and within 2 terms of reading modern English literature, completely lost his faith in God and wondered what to do with the rest of his life. 40 years later, he ended up running a port in Middlesbrough. Nobody could have known. My big brother read economics, and it ended up as a TV producer making soap operas in Cambodia, which is what he's doing now in his 60s. My kid brother got an engineering degree and ended up first at British Leyland, hated it and left just in time not to be made redundant, retrained as a plumber against all expectations, and all his relatives shook their heads and went, I don't know what he's doing, he's selling himself short. And he now installs renewable energy systems as a specialist, putting in wood-burning stoves and solar panels and stuff, and is a complete specialist in the field and is doing very well indeed. Thank you. Well, now that's all very well, I hear you say, because that was in the good old days. And everybody of my age and from my generation will issue you dire warnings about how bloody awful the time this is for anybody to be starting out on their lives and in their careers, and it's not like the good old days, and there's a lot of doom and gloom and bollocks that is talked about that. I have lived through every so-called golden age of the past 50 years. Take it from me. The 1950s, yes, we got the start of the welfare state, we got free education, we got the health service being set up, but it was also a time when the whole of Britain was in ruins from the Second World War, not least our economy. We were completely flat, broke, bankrupt. London was full of bomb sites. The atom bomb had just been invented. For the first time, it was possible to wreak unimaginable destruction on civilian populations. The Cold War had just started. Russia and America had formed these massive power blocks, vowing to rub each other out. Berlin got divided. A cold iron curtain went across the whole of Europe. If you were thinking, shall I start out my career now, or was this a good time to bring up a family? with Suez, Aden, rationing the Berlin airlift, you would not have thought the 50s was a great time to be doing it. As for the so-called swinging 60s, we had the Cuban Missile Crisis, and just because, you know, in retrospect, something that could have happened didn't happen, doesn't mean to say it wasn't a very, very real possibility at the time. In 1962, America and Russia came that close to destroying the whole planet with the Cuban Missile Crisis. They both had enough megatons stored up in their silos to wipe out every living sentient creature on the planet. We lived through that under that constant threat of annihilation. That's why we went on the peace marches at the time. And as for the racism, the sexism, the homophobia that the society was imbued with at that time, yes, there was employment available, but not if you were black or female, or gay, or even Irish. It was not a great time to be any kind of minority. And how they figured out that women were somehow a minority, I still don't quite know. We had Vietnam going on. In the US, the civil rights movement was being beaten back in the South by batons and bullets. Racist governors of whole states were doing their best to suppress people of colour in their population. It was the most awful time for people struggling for their basic human rights. Again, the 60s, when you actually think back to what it was really like, not the golden flower power marketed version that gets sold to us on chocolate box wrappers these days, it was not a great time. The 70s, of course, were much better. No, they weren't. We had the 3-day week, we had industrial strife, we had Cambodia being bombed, an escalation of the Vietnam War, we had the National Front marching on our streets through racially sensitive areas, we had recession, we had mass youth unemployment for the first time, we had race riots, the like of which put the other week to shame in terms of their destructive power and divisiveness within the communities we lived through. The 70s were a bloody awful time to grow up. On the other hand, we had the 80s with Margaret Thatcher, Ronald Reagan, AIDS, the Falkland Islands, the destruction of our coal and manufacturing industries. I mean, let's not spell it out. There is no golden age when everything was great and it was the perfect time to set out on a career. Even 10 years ago, if you just wind the clock back 10 years, exactly 10 years, you've got 9/11 and the Iraq War brewing. So I would say to you, the good old days are here and now. There has never been a better time to be starting out as somebody intelligent, with qualifications, with get up and go, with intelligence and a knowledge of how to be a digital native than now. We live in the middle of a revolution. All the old orders of what employment means, what companies mean, how business is structured, how the media are structured, everything is all shifting. Nobody knows how it's going to end up. A fish in a fish tank can't see the water. We are living in those times. We can't see what those times mean or where they're going, but we do know that everything is in flux and it's all to play for right now. In my own industry, with the music business, to give you an example, when I started out as a musician in the 70s, you had to go through gatekeepers. You could have all the talent in the world, but unless you got past the gatekeepers, you would never, ever get heard. You could make music in your bedroom till you were blue in the face. Nobody would ever hear it unless a record company gave you permission to make a demo, because we didn't have cheap home recording like you have nowadays. Nowadays, open up a laptop and you can make something that will go to the top of the charts, just with the software that comes with it. Back then, if you wanted to record a drum kit and a band, you had to go into a demo studio, and that cost money, and mostly the record companies only had that money. So unless the record company said, yes, you may, you couldn't even make a demo. Once you'd made the demo, you couldn't make a record unless a record company said so. And then, once you'd made a record with the record company and made a single, and it was a great single, unless you got past the front door at Radio 1, nobody would ever hear it. We only had a centralized BBC radio service across the country with one station, and the Radio 1 playlist ruled the roost. John Peel might play your cassette in the middle of the night, and maybe a couple of people would go out and see your gigs. But if you wanted a career, You had to get past the gatekeepers. These people set themselves up as arbiters. They were open to terrible corruption, if not literally corruption through bribery. At least it made them have a warped idea of their own importance as A&R people at record companies or as playlist radio producers. None of that is true today. Today, all you have to be is good. If you wrote The Next Creep by Radiohead or The Next 1999 by Prince, all you would have to do would be put it up on a SoundCloud page and email 100 people about it. If it was really genuinely that good, if it was basically a "fuck me" song. Because people can write those kind of songs. It is possible. I managed it only twice in a 30-year career, but I did manage it. And both times, those songs got into the top 10. But that was because I got lucky with the gatekeepers. You only have to write the song, and people will beat a path to your webpage. So that's, for the people involved in music at least, that's certainly true. The audience, though, for whatever you do, whether you're doing sculpture, furniture, or any kind of creative endeavor, is global. So the connectivity gives us huge advantages. It presents challenges as well, because if you log on to Elance to offer your services, as you can now, and offer your services in a huge variety of fields to a global marketplace, you're competing against people in Bangalore, people in Alabama, people all around the world. But again, all you have to be is good. And we get good by doing. So remember, this is the start, not the finish, of the acquisition of wisdom, knowledge, and development of those skills. But you have those basic skills, and where you go with those, I can tell you something about, although I know nothing about the acquisition of those skills. The key is persistence. The best advice I was ever given in the early days of trying to get a record deal was, if there are 50 record companies in London and you have a demo that you're sending out, until all 50 of them have sent you back a letter saying, no, it isn't what we're looking for, you haven't yet failed. What people usually do is send out the demo 3 or 4 times, don't hear anything back, they get discouraged and give up. Persistence, persistence, persistence is the key. You have to have a phenomenally thick skin to succeed. You have to be phenomenally cheeky to succeed. Fear of rejection is the main thing that is going to hold you back in your coming career. And losing your fear of rejection and developing a thick hide like a rhinoceros is the thing that will help you to the greatest degree. At BBC Six Music, we have interns working on my show. We have them for 4-week periods, and it's so interesting watching people of your generation coming through to work on the show, because there's such a difference according to the personality of the person. Some people kind of just drift through it in a dream, don't really get what's going on, don't ask any questions, and just go away at the end, and you can't really remember much about them. But at least 3 of the people we've had through in the last 2 years who've just done a 4-week internship on the show have ended up being employed at the BBC. One of them, within 6 weeks, had a full-time job at 5 Live, just because while he was in the BBC building, he made contacts. He looked through the phone book, he took down names and addresses, he shook people's hands, he handed them his business card. Cheeky, he risked rejection, he risked them going, who the hell are you? But he did it. And he had the job, like that. Others have found themselves jobs in regional radio. There's another one who's working upstairs at Radio 2 now. It's that persistence and that cheekiness that really gets you in there. Fear of rejection is the biggest hang-up. Now, we're not just talking, though, about individual achievement, about what we personally can do in our own little field, on our own. You know, the hell with you, I'm going for it. Because the greater opportunities for connectivity and connection also don't only mean greater competition on the global market, but it also gives us a greater possibility for collaboration, cooperation, and community. You can lean on the friends that you've made here. In previous generations, people would go their to the four winds and never see each other again except at occasional reunions. You can remain connected with the people who are valuable to you, the people who inspire you, the people you get on with, the people you can lean on, swap knowledge with. As a result, after you leave here, you don't have to disappear. This doesn't have to be the last time you're in touch with each other. That's a big change. Also, once we're talking about community, we look at the wider world, how we can help change the world around us for the better. There's so much to complain about, and it's no us just sitting back and moaning about the bankers or the super rich and the way they're screwing the rest of us. You have to do something about it, even if it's only a small way. For instance, in 2 weeks' time, here at the university, the Peace One Day group are organising a day in favour of peace. What can anybody do to bring about world peace on a university campus? Well, we can't do very much, but we can do a little. And the little bit that we do, as good old Eliot said, for us, there's only the trying. The rest is not our business. We have to do our bit to try. I remember in the late 80s, an 80-year-old Quaker woman went to Moscow to plead with Brezhnev to put away the missiles. And when she came back, Radio 4 said to her, what did you think was going to happen? Did you think he was going to actually see you or talk to you? What was the point? And she said, I just had to go and throw my pebble at the wall. And that's what we have to do, I think, throw our pebbles at the wall. One last thing, I'm sorry to drone on like this, but I just want to say one other thing. We have our inner lives, we have our outer lives. We have our waking lives, we have our dreaming lives. The dream is the inner you who's always been with you from the first days of childhood and who is still in there at the moment. We lose touch with our dreams at our peril. You've graduated in skills that enable you to help others achieve their dreams. So those of you involved in law are helping those who are oppressed achieve their dreams of justice. Those of you who are studying sport management and coaching are enabling athletes and others to achieve their dreams. Those of you in music management or event management are helping other people achieve their dreams. But don't lose sight of yours. If you have an inner dream of being a songwriter, don't think about the money or the practical possibilities or the fact that you're going to have to do something else for a living for the foreseeable future. Write songs anyway. If that's what makes you come alive, don't lose sight of it. When you see people just get stuck into the daily reality of earning a living, drudging their way through the course of their daily lives, by the time they get to 40, they hit a brick wall, divorce, nervous breakdown, collapses of all kinds. You have to have two sides of you, the dream side and the reality side. Look after your dream, cherish your dream. If you're a songwriter, write songs regardless. If you want to be an athlete, you're going, oh no, I'm too old, I can't get on. Get training. Do it anyway for its own sake. If you want to be an author, start blogging. And if your dream is simply to meet the person you want to love, cherish, and spend the rest of your life with, you can make a start right now by starting to love and cherish yourselves. Bless you all. Have a fantastic day.
High Sheriff, my Lord, Vice-Chancellor, Chairman of the University Council, honoured guests, ladies and gentlemen. As Pro-Vice-Chancellor and Executive Dean of the Faculty, it is my privilege and pleasure to conclude this afternoon's proceedings by thanking those who have made today's ceremony possible. I would like to thank the Vice-Chancellor of the University, Professor Ruth Farwell, not only for awarding the university degrees and diplomas, but also for her support and faith in this dynamic faculty over the past year. Roy Darby, the Chairman of the University Council, who opened the proceedings this afternoon, thank you for your continued confidence in the work of this faculty. The faculty is honoured by the presence of Tom Robinson, who received his honorary award today, and also for his enlightening and thought-provoking keynote speech. I wonder just how many of the students here today, when they walked into the institution on that first day to start their course, would have any idea of the fantastic experience that graduation day is. I, for one, never tire of watching the pride and pleasure on the faces of those receiving awards and those here to support them. Today is my favourite day of the year, and the institution and everyone here who's in here today sees you go across that stage and they feel it's a job well done. We see students graduating with awards who are either entering full-time employment for the first time, going on to further study, or completing a programme whilst in employment to further their own expertise, knowledge, or self-development. This gives us a true sense of the meaning of lifelong learning, and it is this diverse mix of programmes and students from which we gain so much pleasure in the faculty. Being both flexible in our approach and accessible to all, we've identified niches and partners that enrich the environment in which we work. This academic year has again been a challenging one for the staff of the faculty, who've had to balance academic work and administration with the demands of a changing higher education environment. And without a strong team, I could not have managed at all. My staff have worked tirelessly as a team and shown the true mettle of the faculty in each task asked of them. I cannot single anyone out, as the teaching team, the skills team, the management team, those undertaking research, the administration staff, the registrars, PAs and support services, which include the technicians and the campus caretaking, cleaning and refectory staff, all contribute to the wide range of education support functions making up the university community. I'm sure that you will join with me in thanking everyone here in the faculty and university who has made your time here enjoyable and successful, and also to those who have put so much effort into making today such a special occasion. In the faculty, the development of new programmes has strengthened our links with industry, and in many cases has given those in industry without qualifications a chance to gain a degree through a work-based learning process. It is clear that our broad base of courses will continue to aid our development and sustain our position in the marketplace. Today we have seen students from the music, events, sport, law and business programmes graduating. It is a testament to their drive and enthusiasm that they have been able to complete these courses with their arduous calendar of commitments. These people really are a special type of student. Over our 5 faculty ceremonies this week, we've seen students graduating on a full range of courses, from certificates and foundation degrees to PhDs. We have enabled a number of students to work on high-profile projects within industry, which has enabled many of them to not only enhance their career prospects, but to gain employment with many of the companies involved in the music, events, sport, law and business areas. We have a range of partners too numerous to mention, and they have helped us to create a range of these new initiatives which has enhanced the student experience. It is clear that our job would be made so much harder without the assistance of the families and friends of the students who provide such a great deal of support during your programmes of study. I'm sure that you will join me on behalf of the students in thanking their families and friends for their contribution to this momentous occasion. To conclude, I would just like to say a few words to those seeking their fortune in the areas that have graduated today. Mark Twain said, 20 years from now, you will be more disappointed by the things you didn't do than by the ones that you did. So throw off your bowlines, sail away from safe harbour, catch the trade winds in your sails, explore, dream and discover. I hope that during your time spent here that we have given you the tools to be a positive thinker and to attain your goals. Remember, the positive thinker sees the invisible, feels the intangible, and achieves the impossible. You have just finished part of your life after school, and I hope that we have identified to you the importance of positivity in everything that you do. I wish you all the best of luck in whatever you do, and I hope that you will keep in touch and let us know how you're getting on. I hope you will all join us for light refreshments in the university after this ceremony. And now I declare the degree, congregation and awards ceremony closed.